What's going on, guys? Spark here, and we're back with, you guessed it, Goblin Gangland. Obviously, because that's the title of the YouTube video. Alright, so let's take a look at this deck, and we'll go through the good cards, the bad cards, like I normally do. So we've got all the 100 cards I can have in here. Now this is what you should do with every deck, every sideboard. Go through and decide what cards you like, what cards you don't, and what cards shouldn't be in there by any means at all. So, Goblin Arsonist. Dies, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Absolutely wonderful. He looks like an Asura from Guild Wars 2. And yeah, I don't like that race at all. Like, I liked him in the original Guild Wars, but not in this one. But anyway, we're talking about Magic, not Guild Wars right now. Very good. He kills 2 2s. He kills 3 2s. He kills all the fun things that are really annoying for this deck. And if you sack him with a Goblin Grenade, he still dies and does his damage. So Goblin Grenade becomes 6 instead of just 5. Definitely leave the Arsonist in there. Balloon Brigade gains flying. Are you going to give this thing flying to do 1 more damage? Or are you going to give it flying to block a Suntail Hawk? Why? Why would you even consider playing that? Don't. Bushwhacker. Bushwhacker is a great card. There are a lot of Goblin tokens in this deck, and if you have Krenko out and you go Goblin Bushwhacker, all my creatures get haste and +1/+0, you're going to win the game. He needs to be in there. He has a lot of fun combat tricks, and he's not a 1-drop, ever. Unless he is the only card in your hand, then you should not have kept that hand. You should go mill down to 1 on the draw, and draw land and play him, and that'd be the only circumstance that it would be okay to play him, turn 1. Fire Slinger is annoying, but he doesn't do anything. He does 1 damage to a player. You get no card advantage from him, and you have a whole lot better 1-drops. So you should just play those. Goblin Grenades. Sack a Goblin, deal 5 damage to a creature or player. Definitely need this. This whole TNT thing in his mouth, bombs in his stomach. It's probably like plastic on his feet. You need this. It does a lot of damage. Goblin Guide. Need to know when and when not to attack with it. When I upload the videos for this deck, there are some circumstances where I attack with him and I shouldn't, and I let you know that I shouldn't have attacked with him. But I'm going to do it anyway just because, you know, I'm not afraid of the consequences when I did it. But if your opponent's not got a lot of mana, you don't want to let them get out of their mana screw by giving them mana with Goblin Guides. War Strike. Cool, but not great. It's a finisher, which is something I was complaining about in the deck. But again, it's, you know, you need to have enough goblins out for it to be viable. Most of the time, when you lose a game, you only have 3 or 4 out, and 1 mana for 3 or 4 damage is good, but it's not an instant, like Lightning Bolt. So it's just kind of, it doesn't make the cut for me. Nor do the Raging Goblins, because you have Goblin Guides. Goblin Guides are better. They're fun, don't get me wrong, to be able to drop turn 1 and be like, you take damage no matter what. But shocks are a definite must, because you need to be able to deal with the low creatures so your small creatures can get through for damage. Smelt, I will not play. There are a lot of threatening artifacts in the format, mainly the Crosswinds Infinite Turn combo and things like that, but if you're not winning by turn 5 or 6 when they get the combo active, you've probably lost the game already. So this is a hyper aggressive deck, and you can't play a card that's situational as one of your 1-drops. It's very, very situational. You know, it's only good against Crosswinds or a deck that mana excels very quickly. You know, and even then, you know, if you waste a Smelt on a Medallion, your opponent's probably like, okay, that's fine, whatever. So again, it's just one of those things I would not use. Ember Hauler is amazing. You need to know when to play him and when not to. Again, you'll see that in the games that I play with him. The sacrificing him, you know, makes him very good against Chandra's deck, because, you know, you can just play him and be like, okay, well, you have to waste a burn spell or you take 2 damage, or you waste a burn spell and you take 2 damage. So, you know, you just want to play him on turn 3 against a deck that can deal with him, that's dealing with all your creatures, and kind of force them to be like, well, I have to waste a kill card and I still take 2 damage. Piker, why? Why would you ever consider playing him with all the other fun goblins in this? Why would you pay 2 mana for a 2/1? He doesn't kill anything more than your 1-drops kill, most of them, and he doesn't have any abilities. He's just a 2/1 goblin for 2 mana. I'm sorry, Savannah Lion. Cost 1 less, and it's white. It should, yeah, no, don't play it. Piledriver. Piledriver obviously needs to be in here because Crosswinds and Jace have absolutely 0 ways to deal with him. He gets on the field and wins you games. That's what you want him to do. Ward Driver, as a 1-of, okay. Again, 2 mana for a 2/2, but he has Battle Cry, which gives all your other goblins +1/+0 when he attacks, or all your other creatures +1/+0 when he attacks. So he's worth playing. Krenko's Command should definitely be in the deck. It's a 2 for 1, and, you know, it puts out 2 goblins. I take out the rings specifically because your creatures, most of the creatures already have haste. The only one that doesn't is Krenko, and you have a ton of ways to get him haste. It's nice to have on the field, but it comes down to, like, with Garrick's deck, it's just what turn do you want to play the ring? You go turn 1 Goblin Guide, turn 2 ring, turn 3 equip it and play a Piledriver? Yeah, but let me give you the better 1, 2, 3 drops. Turn 1 Goblin Guide, turn 2 Krenko's Command, turn 3 Piledriver, and another Goblin Guide or something else, 1 drop. You know, that sounds a lot better to me. It's a very fast deck, and you want to keep it that way. You don't want to drop something that's not a creature. Warren Instigator is an absolute must. He says, you have to kill me, or goblins are going to win the game. If I hit you, I put out 2 goblins for free. Should be in there, both of them. Absolutely. Arms Dealer. Arms Dealer is amazing. 2 mana to sacrifice any goblin to do 4 damage to target creature. Absolutely a must-have, because you don't have a way to deal with anything much bigger than a 2/2, and he gives you the opportunity to do that. Not to mention, if you have 6 mana, you can just kill a 12/12. So they definitely should be in there. Blister Stick Shaman. Deals 1 damage to target creature or player. It's neat, but it's a 2/1 for 3 mana that kills a creature. Probably not worth it. Gem Palm Incinerator. Gem Palm Incinerator. Amazing. I see the gems in his hands now. Gem Palm Incinerator. Definitely fun. Definitely needs to be in there. Don't ever play him. Cycle him every time. If he's your only creature in your hand, you should probably still cycle him. If he's the only creature on the, or if there's no creatures on the field, you should probably still cycle him. Just where he's at. Goblin Artillery. Yes and no. It's fun, but it's not good. It's a way to deal with a 2 power or 2 toughness creature, but you can deal with that with a lot of other cards. So it does not make the cut for me. Goblin Assault is not Bitter Blossom. It's not. As much as I wish it were, it's not Bitter Blossom. If you don't know what Bitter Blossom is, it was the beginning of your upkeep. You lose 1 life, and you put out a 1/1 flying black fairy creature token, or blue fairy creature token, or something. It was black and 1, and it was amazing. This costs 1 more and says every single one of your goblins has to attack every turn. Now, if you had a lot of goblins that tapped, it would be good, but you don't. Don't play this. Don't play it ever. Chieftain. Haste. Other goblins you control get +1/+1 and have haste. I do not need to talk about this card in a goblin deck. Please. Goblin Offensive is cool, but it's not good. We need to look at the mana cost here. 4 mana to get 1, 5 mana to get 2, 6 mana to get 3, 7 mana to get 4. 7 mana for 4 1/1 goblin tokens. No. No. Ridge Rider. We had this discussion just a moment ago. 3 mana for a 3/2. Garrick's deck drops one of these a turn earlier, and it has trample. Don't play it. War Chief. Goblins cost 1 less to play. Goblins have haste. Play it. It's very important. You definitely want it. Lava Fume Invoker. 8 mana. Creatures you control get +3/+0 until end of turn. Only good turn 8. We mentioned this before, that you probably are going to win the game turn 5 or turn 6. And if it gets much further than that, you probably lose the game because you don't have the goblins out. Don't play him. Ah, get over here. Rummaging Goblin is fun. He's good, but he's not aggressive. Discard a card, draw a card. It's deck thin, but he's not aggressive. You don't want him in your deck. He doesn't help you. The only time that he's going to be good is when he has haste. And you can drop him, draw a card, discard a card, and play something else. Squee absolutely needs to be in there. It's Squee. How can you not play Squee in a Goblin deck? At the beginning of your upkeep, you return Squee Goblin Nabob from your graveyard to your hand. Now, with Goblin Grenade and Arm Stealer and Siege Gang in your deck, play Squee. That's a good idea. This is not a goblin. You are playing a goblin deck. This makes you sacrifice goblins. You have to sacrifice at least 1 for him to pay for his mana cost. Now, if it's a token, that's probably okay. If it's not, then you're very sad. You're a very sad panda that you drew this card. Don't play it. I mean, it can be good, but he doesn't have trample. He's just going to get chump blocked. So, now that we're up to the 4 mana cost cards, I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of the cards, and we'll resume at the 4 mana cost. So let's go. Battle, Rattle, Shaman. At the beginning of your combat of your turn, you may have target creature get +2/+0 until end of turn. That's cool because it gives one of your creatures, makes him bigger. But it's not a combat trick, no matter how much you want it to be. It's not a combat trick. Your opponent sees the card that gets +2/+0 and says, oh wow, look at that. His Warren Instigator is now a 3/1 first strike creature. I definitely have to block that. Or you can obviously take hate off of your Warren Instigator with it and say, oh look, there's a Goblin guy that's a 4/2 and a Warren Instigator that's a 1/1. Your Warren Instigator is still going to get blocked. You're going to get it for a little bit more damage. But this card's not good. I mean, that was the ideal circumstance. They have one card that can block with, and you've got 2 big scary threats out. Or you have a scary threat and one that's not, and you make the not scary threat scary. But that's the only time that he's going to be good. And there's just a lot of better things that you can do. You know, this is the curve. Look at this. This is 10/1 drops, 10/2 drops, 10/3 drops. And it should curve off very quickly from that point. It should go straight down from 4, 5, and 6. Click Slither. Sack a Goblin gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Now this card's fun. This card's definitely good. But with so much single target removal and creature return and everything else, you probably don't want to play this card. Just because if you sacrifice too many goblins, it's going to die. It's going to be returned, and you're going to be a very sad panda. That's the theme for this video, if you haven't caught on, it's the sad panda. Haste. Must be blocked if able. I mean, he's cool, don't get me wrong, but you have to have a ton of mana. I mean, yeah, he's basically a kill card, but again, you have to have a ton of mana. And he's only a 1/1. He doesn't, his butt doesn't get bigger. He's still just he could be a 5/1. Be like, I'm a 5/1 next turn. No, he has to attack. Oh no, he must be blocked if able. Now he doesn't have to attack each turn, but he has to be blocked. So the next turn you play him and you can make him like a 6-1. And he has to be blocked. But he's still just a 6-1. And he only has to be blocked by one creature. So, yeah. Don't play him. Goons can't attack unless you control more creatures than defending player. Can't block unless you control more creatures than attacking player. In most cases, you're probably going to have more creatures than your opponent. And he should probably be in your deck because obviously you play Krenko and you play a lot of other creatures. There are very few decks that are going to play more creatures than you. Goblin Guide or Goblin Goon should probably be in the deck. Just saying. I don't think he was in my original one, and I don't know why, but he should have been. Because, I mean, let's look at it. Lily doesn't play that many creatures, and your worst matchup is her and Chandra. Neither one of them play very many creatures, so, and he's huge. Jace doesn't play very many creatures. Garrick doesn't play very many creatures. The only ones that are going to come close to you are the soldier decks, and if you get a Krenko out, you win. So, Ringleader. I've called him Ringleader 100 times. Goblin Ringleader. When Goblin Ringleader enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all Goblin cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, you're playing a Goblin deck. Yeah, 4 mana for a 2-2 with haste doesn't seem to cut it, because 4 mana for a 3-2 that has Cascade. But basically, it's almost Cascade. Almost. It is not Blood Red Elf. But if you hit more than one goblin, it's worth it. I mean, so I run the 2 of them. Krenko speaks for himself. If you're not playing Krenko in this deck, then you should probably uninstall the game. He is pictured on the cover of the deck. Now I realize that there's some cards that are pictured on the covers of the decks that you probably don't want to play. But he is pictured on the cover of the deck. Please play him. He is good. He's amazing. And if you can give him haste, you win the game 90% of the time. Lowland Oath. Target goblin gains flying and +1/+0 until at a turn. Sacrifice that creature at the beginning of your next end step. So you give a creature flying and you have to sack it. But he's a giant warrior. He's not good. You don't want him. Especially since you have to tap him to do that. Reckless 1. Again, you're playing goblins. Please play him in your deck. You look at him. He's just like, come at me, bro. I've got goblins and I'm scary. And they're giving me even bigger weapons. It's like, please. You should play the reckless ones. There's 3 of them in the deck. They're very good. Relentless Assault's cool. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. You cast this during your second main phase. After this main phase, there's an additional combat step followed by an additional main phase. It's good. But most of the time, you're just going to be okay anyway. You don't really need it. So, I didn't play it. I'm more worried about the curve being as low as possible. You know, and not drawing things like this when I don't have the creatures. I'm much more creature focused and saying, this is my creature base and we're going to deal damage this way. Mind Moil. Whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order and then draw that many cards. It's cool, but it costs 5 mana. 5-drop, Siege Gate Commander. Yeah, Siege Gate Commander. Enters the battlefield, put 3 1/1 goblins onto the battlefield. Sack a goblin, deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So, you know, him and Krenko are just best friends, and you win the game if you get those 2 out. Devour 1. It deals damage equal to twice the number of goblins devoured, but again, you want your curve to be as low as possible. Yeah, we still have a lot of cards to get rid of. We need 6 more cards to remove. And it's a very tight goblin list already. It doesn't fit. Creatures you control have double strike. That's cool, but cost 6 mana. Probably not cool. Of the Forge, the beginner upkeep, put a 1/1. Yeah, no. Don't play that. He's not playable, and you only get one token. It's not like the Chancellor that is in Jace's deck, where you go, I mill you at the start of your, or at the beginning of my upkeep, and then I drop a big scary creature. No. I mean, he's cool when he hits the field, but he's very expensive, and he can't be put into your hand. You actually have to hard, or can't be put into play from your hand, so you actually have to hard cast him. And again, if it's turn 7, you've probably lost the game. And you probably don't have 7 lands for that matter, because we're at 26 lands at 66 cards. Goblin Dynamo deals 1 damage to target creature player. Sacrifice Goblin Dynamo deals X damage to target creature player. He cost 7 mana. No. So, we need 3 more cards to remove from this very, very tight list. So, we obviously don't want to look at the 1s and 2 drops. Our 1s and 2 drops are fine. So let's go to our 3 drops. 3 drops, Squee. It cannot be removed. Chieftains cannot be removed. Incinerators cannot be removed. Arms dealers cannot be removed. Cannot be removed. Okay, so 4 drops. We gotta go to 4 drops. I really don't want to get rid of the Goblin Goon, because, I mean, he's really good. See, this is a very tight Goblin list with what we're playing. I mean, there's obviously cards that, you know, if I could say play 4 ofs, I'd say don't play this card, but we can't do that. So, yeah, we really, really, really need to look at the 4 drops. Goblin Goon was not in there originally, but he probably should be. Because I think more often than not, he's going to help you, because, you know, Soldiers is probably the only deck that he's bad against, and you might even have more creatures than them. Yeah, he's just going to get chump blocked. But he can attack and he can block. And he's a good way to deal with big scary creatures. But let's get out of that mindset and focus on we should be winning as soon as possible. He doesn't have haste, he doesn't have trample, and he cost 4 mana. I mean, unless we have a Goblin Chieftain out or a Goblin War Chief, he's probably not attacking the turn he comes out. And he's situational. So, unfortunately, he must be taken out. Which gives us 2 more cards to remove from this deck list. And this is a very, very tight deck list again. I don't like having to remove cards from this tight of a deck list. So, we're going to possibly get rid of the ringleaders. It sucks. They're card advantage sometimes. But they're the only things that come into play that are situational. That if we reveal the top 4 cards of our library and we hit 4 lands, or we hit 2 lands and Goblin Grenade and something else, Goblin Grenade and Krenko's Command, I mean, more often than not, they're going to be helpful, but they might just be too situational and not strong enough. So I think those are the other 2 that I remove. So that gives us 1 drops or Arsonist and Bushwhackers, and Goblin Grenades, Goblin Guides, and Shocks. Ember Hauler, Piledriver, War Driver, Krenko's Command, War and Instigator are the 2 drops. 3 drops are Arms Dealer, Goblin Incinerator, War Chief, or Chieftain, War Chief, Squee. 4 drops are Krenko, Reckless One, and 5 drops are Siege Gangs. Playing 24 lands, which is probably good for an aggressive deck like this. You probably shouldn't see more than 5 a game. And, you know, this curve is probably ideal. This is exactly what you want the Goblin deck curve to look like. So, unfortunately, you know, having to get rid of the ringleaders. I think the ringleaders are helpful, but I don't see anything else in the deck that's worth cutting over them. So, it's a tight list. There are obviously deviations that you can make. You can play it more token-based. When playing it token-based, you play the Devour cards a lot more. You could play the Relentless Assaults. They're good. But I just feel like you don't need them. You know, I don't see what you take out to put in Relentless Assaults. I like this list. This is an aggressive list. This is something similar to what I would play. And if someone handed me the decks in the game and said, "Hey, which one would you like to play, or which one would you like to improve upon and play?" Because obviously this one needs improved upon. But no, it's a good deck. I like it. If you guys liked it, let me know. If there's something that you would change dramatically in the deck, please let me know. And again, if you enjoyed the video, if you could leave a like or comment, or if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I do this thing a lot, and I'll try and get the videos out relatively soon, but this one will probably be up shortly after me recording it. Also, I have a new microphone, if you haven't noticed, probably the last several videos. The sound quality should be a lot better. Please let me know what you think about that, and I will see you guys later. Peace.